Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein in 1816 when she was just 18 years old. This book arguably was the birth of science fiction, the first of its kind. Can you imagine how remarkable that is to achieve all that at 18? I want to dispel some of the myths around this book's genesis story. The Frankenstein plot summary will be at the end of this video. But first, why was Shelley in Geneva? Mary began a steamy affair with Percy Shelley, her dad's mate, the married man that Mary lost her virginity to right by her mother's grave. At 18 years old, her and Percy were in a bit of a claustrophobic pickle, so they wanted to spend some time abroad. Mary's stepsister Claire joined them and convinced them to go to Lake Geneva, where her lover was. Now, her lover wasn't just anyone, it was the famous, illustrious Lord Byron, who was on holiday / in exile from London because of allegations of incest with his half-sister. Skimming over that, his companion / physician John Polidori was also there. Little did Lord Byron know Polidori had actually been paid £500 to be there and write up a journal of the events that followed, because his publishers reckoned that this Geneva trip was going to be a bit juicy and maybe they could get a bestseller out of this. So we've got all these interesting characters spending a summer together, but it wasn't actually a summer. 1816 was known as the year without a summer. The previous year, a volcanic eruption in Indonesia had caused a gigantic ash cloud, which in turn caused global temperatures to be lower than usual by about a degree. Mary Shelley describes her time in Geneva as having an almost perpetual rain. While bored on these rainy days, the holiday goers would amuse themselves with old German ghost stories. There's an anecdote where Percy dashes out of a room in horror, thinking that Mary's nipples are demonic eyes, which might have something to do with the vast quantities of liquid opium they were all consuming. Lord Byron suggested they have a scary story writing competition. In retrospect, Mary Shelley defo won this one with Frankenstein. At the time, she couldn't come up with one immediately. It was only a few days later when she had a horrific waking dream concerning the reanimation of life that she started penning the words for Frankenstein. Mary actually went on to spend a lot of time writing this book. Her husband, Percy, helped her. People have argued that Percy's additions to the book were worse than the work of any line editor working today. And Shelley also initially published this book anonymously with Percy's name on the preface. So people initially assumed that Percy wrote this. So very interesting looking at past examples of collaboration between partners and loved ones. Mary was not the only one to come up with literature during this ghostwriting competition. Byron's physician John Polidori wrote The Vampire, which went on to become one of Bram Stoker's inspirations for Dracula. Interestingly, the main bloodsucker character in The Vampire closely resembled Lord Byron. The rest of Mary Shelley's life was tragic. Loved ones around her died, including her half-sister, her children, and Percy, who drowned in a storm. And actually, Mary carried Percy's calcified heart with her for the rest of her life. There's been a lot of speculation about whether she was bisexual or not. An argument over whether this speculation is necessary, relevant, we'll never fully know, etc. After the death of her husband, Mary wrote, "Being afraid of men, I was apt to get tousy-mousy for women." And this word tousy-mousy is a little bit of a euphemism at the time for vagina. Mary allegedly helped two female friends run away to Paris, disguised as man and wife, helping them get fake passports. One aspect of Frankenstein that I did not have time to get into in my plot summary video, which you can see at the end of this video, was that the story is encapsulated within a story of explorer Robert Walton, who is seeking to find the Northwest Passage, which was a path over the top of North America. At the time, the Northwest Passage had not yet been found. And Robert Walton, this fictional explorer, sees Victor Frankenstein in the icebergs, withering and perishing, and they take him on board and nurse him. And Robert Walton listens to Victor's life story. This is how we hear about the entire Frankenstein plot. Robert listens with such love and intrigue. To me, on first read, I'm like instant gay-coded romantic, but that's just my interpretation. I also loved Robert Walton's Rime of the Ancient Mariner references in his letters, almost seeking to have the remorse of the ancient mariner. Little does he know he's about to. The art of the book lies in the way Shelley nudges readers' sympathy. Page by page, paragraph by paragraph, even line by line, from Frankenstein to the creature. After filming the plot summary in Cheddar Gorge, which you'll see in a sec, we went to the Cheddar Gorge caves. Goff's cave was one of the best laid out educational experiences. I was crying at points. There's a fascinating history here. A man called Richard Goff discovered this cave system in 1890. And of course, the knowledge then about caves was very different to the knowledge we have today. You can imagine Richard Goff's utter wonder of going through a tiny hole and discovering this gigantic cave system filled with stalagmites and stalactites. We learned a great way to remember which are which. Stalagmites stand with all their might and stalactites hold on so tight. On finding a major chamber within the cave system, Goff called it St. Paul's Chamber because the cave formations made this structure that looked like the organ in St. Paul's Cathedral, and we have his diary entries of this. Allegedly, on the night he discovered this chamber for the first time, he took his family into it and they all sang a hymn together. You can see why something like this felt like an act of God. Cheddar has been matured in the caves of Cheddar Gorge for a very long time, and this is because of an interesting geological feature. The temperature and humidity of the cave stays nearly constant year round at 11 degrees Celsius and 95% humidity. The cave system is protected by meters and meters of thick limestone. The caves are unaffected by surface level changes. Without further ado, here is the plot summary. POV! You're the monster in Frankenstein! Your creator Victor spent months sewing you together from dead corpses and electrocutes you, bringing you to life. He takes one look at you and runs away screaming. Imagine being so butters that the author of the book can barely find words to describe you. Naturally, of course, in the new movie, they had to choose the ugliest man alive to portray you. Great match. You're confused and alone. Everyone's scared of you. You watch a family every night living their lives, and when you finally approach them seeking friendship, they scream and chase you away. All you were looking for was a little friendship. So yeah, you snap and strangle your creator Victor's little brother. Look, it's not your finest hour, okay? But you want Victor to feel what you feel. Rejection, pain, loss. You go find Victor in the mountains and beg him to create you a companion monster to end your forever loneliness. Victor reluctantly agrees and even begins making her. But halfway through, he freaks out and tears it all up. You lose it and swear revenge, saying, "I shall be with you on your wedding night." So naturally, you obviously strangle Victor's wife on their wedding night. For anyone shocked or surprised, you literally warned him.
Victor spends the rest of his life chasing you till he dies of exhaustion.
When you see his body, you actually cry, because the truth was you never wanted any of this. You just wanted someone to not run away.
Your creator made you, hated you, and left you alone in a world that never wanted you. So you became exactly what they saw, a monster. Now he's gone and you go to the North Pole to die too. The end! That was Frankenstein, and this is too long to read. Thank you for listening to my brief exploration of some of the context behind Frankenstein. I really want to hear your favourite facts about this book in the comments, so please leave them down below.